In 10.1, we're going to learn about how to analyze surveys and samples. A survey is a study of one or more characteristics of a group. And this entire group you want information about is called a population. Sometimes it's very difficult to survey an entire population because it's hard to reach everybody. So we would take a sample. And there's many different kinds of sampling that I will teach you later. So in general, to take a sample from a population, we can make general conclusions about a certain population. If we take a survey of an entire population, this would be called a census. When it is difficult to perform a census, you can survey, again, a sample, which is part of the population. The first kind of sampling method is called the random sample or the simple random sample. This means that there is an equal chance of selection from a population. For example, an airline wants to gather information on passenger satisfaction during a flight. A computer randomly selects 30 passengers to complete a survey. So everybody has an equal chance. So the population of this sample will be considered the passengers of the airline. And the next type of sampling method is called the systematic random sample. It is a selection based on a rule. So for example, if a school wants to know if students are satisfied with the school's extracurricular activities and they want to sample the students according to a rule, then for example, in each grade, every 10th student on an alphabetized list is surveyed. So this is following a rule. And the population being surveyed will be the students at the school. And the third type of sampling method is called the stratified sample. Stratified. So what this means, there will be a random selection from divided groups of the population. So if this were the population, and we want to divide them into females and males. And from these two groups, we're going to make another selection. So female, male. So for example, your school's administrators want to know where students want to go on the class trip at the end of the year. So the administrators randomly survey 30 freshmen, meaning 9th graders, so this is another type, 30 sophomores, 10th graders, 30 juniors, 11th graders, or 30 seniors. So as you can see, the students are divided into groups, and then 30 of each group are being sampled. So this is considered a random or stratified sample, and the population would be the students. And the fourth one will be the convenience sampling. So I'm going to have you practice writing the word one time. And this just means sampling individuals who are easy to get to. So if I want to sample people on the streets of Taipei City and interview them about housing prices, that would be considered convenient sampling because I'm just grabbing people that are near me and easy to ask questions about. So the population would be the people living in Taipei. And the last one here is self-selected sampling. I'll just practice writing this one time even though I have it printed for you. Just means individuals volunteer to be sampled. So for example, a restaurant manager wants to evaluate the quality of the restaurant's service by giving diners mail-in comment cards, then the people who receive these comment cards have the option of filling it out, whether if they want to or not, and mail it back in. So we call this self-selected sample. So the population here would be the people who have eaten at the restaurant. We're going to take a look at more vocab terms here. There's something called the bias sample, but I'm going to begin with talking about a sample that's unlikely to be biased, meaning it's representative of a population. So for example, a family wants to go gather information about other residents on their street, about forming a neighborhood watch. They survey every third house on both sides of the street. So it's not like the first 3 houses are being surveyed, and that would be biased, but it's following a systematic way of sampling, so that would be unlikely biased. So I'm going to make a note here that this is a systematic method. And then we have the biased sample. It's a sample in which some parts of the population may be overrepresented or underrepresented, meaning just going to get too much of it or too less of something. So for example, the American Nurses Association wanted to gather information about the working environment for nurses in hospitals. A survey of the nurses was posted on the association's website. Well, this will be considered a self-selected sample. This will most likely be a biased sample because only the nurses with extreme views, nurses who have extreme views, either might give very positive opinions about the working environment or negative opinions. So we would consider this a biased sample. Now let's look at a biased question. A question that encourages a particular response would be considered biased. So for example, don't you agree that the voting age should be lowered to 16 because many 16-year-olds are responsible and informed? The clause, because many 16-year-olds are responsible and informed, is trying to encourage and prove to the person being asked to say, yes, you must agree, but that would be biased. And I would like to write the reason would be it suggests lowering the age is a good thing to do. So if we were to rewrite this so that it's not biased, it would be, do you think the voting age should be lowered to 16? And take out the clause. Okay. Now, let's look at an example in which the question is not potentially biased. So, do you support the incumbent's tax plan or challenger's tax plan? As you can see, this question does not really encourage a particular answer. So we call this a not potentially biased question because it doesn't encourage a particular answer. We can also say it presents two choices for the person being asked to pick, and it doesn't imply any sort of opinions. And this concludes the lesson.